Hey there, Skeleton Key here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel, whether you're joining me live or whether you are watching this recording later. Hope you'll pop in and say hi. And yeah, thank you for joining me while I talk about my previous week in reading and what I'm doing next. So last week, finished up January. And just a little overview of January. I finished 20 books in January. I know that sounds like a lot, but some of them were really short. In fact, some of them were actually short stories that had also been published as standalones. So they got counted separately. And yeah, so yeah, when you hear numbers from me, yeah, take it with a grain of salt because no telling what it actually means. But yeah, I finished 20 books. And so my star rating on Goodreads, I don't do half stars on Goodreads, but if you average them, it came out to 3.6. And I've never really paid much attention to the monthly averages of those. So I'm not really sure where that is, if that's good or not. But anyway, so last week specifically, I finished 4 books. And I guess I should talk about in January. Let's see. Also, I'll just go ahead and bring up this to show you the individual books. Oh, I'm using a new browser, and so now select window or screen. Yes, I want to do that. Why are you only giving me not now as an option? It's not letting me share my screen. Well, that's a bummer. Yeah, I should have checked on that earlier because I had to set a bunch of other permissions. Well, anyway, my only real disappointment was well, I guess I'll just click that off. Click the screen icon. I don't know if you can even see me right now because the browser has blocked it. Screen icon. All right. Allowed. Where's the screen icon? Oh gosh, this is a mess. All right, can you see me? Somebody please pop in the comments and let me know if I'm actually visible. Now it says it's playing in picture-in-picture mode. I don't understand what is going on here. That'll teach me to try Firefox. Back to tab. All right. Okay, you can see me. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And hello. All right. But I guess I'm not sharing my screen tonight. Oh, that's awful. But because most of these are like audiobooks and things, so I don't have physical copies. But the only real disappointment last month was the Neil Gaiman book, Snow Glass Apples, and beautiful artwork, but wow, that was not what I expected it to be. That was very gory. That was not safe for work. Not my jam. It was, I found it highly problematic, but the artwork is gorgeous. So yeah, so I'm not going to disrecommend it. Just know what you're getting into with that. The only real standout in January was Femina, and that was about women in medieval history and women who had been written out of history by the men because patriarchy. And I learned a lot of stuff, and that era really interests me. I read a lot of fiction set in that era, so it's nice to see what was realistic for women in that era, and have some professional guidance on that. Uh, but and I've already talked about both of those books quite a bit in previous weeks, but I guess we'll go to the 4 books that I finished last week. And so Mask of the Red Death. Oh, I was gonna show you so I started listening to an audiobook, and there was an introduction by another person, not Poe. And then it started in on all this, and it kept talking about artwork. And I was like, well, this is an audiobook, so. And then it started off with this I am patient zero stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is a retelling. And so, I closed it down, and then I went and looked at the page, and there was a PDF. And so I clicked on the PDF. And so it was an audiobook, but it was also, the PDF was of the book, the physical, the text. And it was, the artwork, it was a graphic novel format, not an adaptation, although Goodreads has it listed as an adaptation. So, and I don't think it is. I think it is just the actual text, but it's illustrated by Archer. Last name was Archer, and this doesn't show me what his name was, or does it? No, because that's for the ebook. Yeah, man. I'm sorry I can't show you the screen. I'll figure it out, and next week I'll be able to show you my screen. So this was a reread for me, Mask of the Red Death, and it's very apropos to the last several years about, rich people thinking that, oh, well, disease is for little people. We have money, so we don't have to deal with it. We're just going to go off and be rich together. And yeah, so it spoiler alert, it doesn't end well for them. But and there are a lot of retellings, and yeah, it's great. And Poe, this is the second time I've read this story. I read it first in 2020, so that I could read Cory Doctorow's take on it, which I really enjoyed, even though it's pretty gross. It deals a lot with plumbing issues. Let's put it that way. Yeah, it doesn't matter how much money you have, as long as if you don't know how to deal with cantankerous plumbing. But this, going back to the original again, it's, Poe's work is stuff that you find new things, different nuances every time you read it, especially just considering, 2020 and 2024, what we've been through, and just and some of the other Poe inspired literature that has come out lately. Yeah, this is the era of inspired by Poe. We're really on a Poe kick. I think the whole world is right now. But I really did enjoy seeing Mask of the Red Death in a slightly different light. So that I think it's going to be one that I think I will probably reread that pretty regularly, along with Cask of Amontillado, which I have not reread this year just yet, but plan to. And then Rappaccini's Daughter, and I can show you the collection that this came from. This is Young Goodman Brown and Other Short Stories by Nathaniel Hawthorne. And Rappaccini's Daughter, it's a short story about this young student in Italy, Padua, I believe, who sees this beautiful girl in a garden below his window and falls in love with her. And yeah, there's a lot to it, but yeah. So Rappaccini's Daughter is actually the inspiration for Poison Ivy. In fact, I'm told that there are some references specifically to Rappaccini's Daughter in some of those movies. I forget which is that. I think that it's a Batman movie. It's been so long since that one came out, but and I don't really keep up on all the reboots, and which, DC does these and Marvel does these, and I'm always getting them mixed up. So I have friends who are experts on those things, and so I just defer to them. But Poison Ivy from the comic books is actually inspired by Rappaccini's Daughter. Her father is a scientist and kind of shunned by the scientific community in Italy because he does some strange things. And his daughter is one of the results. So, yeah. And I'm just going to leave that there. You've either read it or you haven't. And if you haven't, I don't want to spoil it. And, people talk about, oh, that's such an old story. I can just, launch into spoilers. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, so Jane Eyre came out in, hundreds of years ago, but I hadn't read it yet. So I was really kind of upset that I went into Jane Eyre knowing all the things. And yeah, that kind of pissed me off. So I try not to give spoilers even to classics. So let's see next. And this is, I showed you last week, Sparkle, a unicorn named Sparkle and the Perfect Valentine. And this is just an adorable little picture book. So it's Sparkle the unicorn. It looks a lot like a goat, but his girl Lucy, and you can't really see Lucy. Oh well. But he loves his girl Lucy, and his girl Lucy loves him. And it's Valentine's Day, and she's making valentines, and she's like, oh well, nobody expects a valentine from a unicorn, so I'll sign these for both of us. And he's like, but I need to make a valentine for Lucy. And he goes about it, and he's not satisfied with the results, but it's a very sweet story. It ends very nicely. It's got a nice message. And yeah, I was a little worried because I found it a reference to it on a homeschooling website, and homeschooling websites are I guess they had a podcast, and it was listed on the podcast. I'm like, oh, hey, I need a book with a unicorn. But homeschoolers come in various types, and you never know which type. So some of them are quite sane, and others are not. But I was very, very pleased with this. I just thought it was adorable. And I've got to see if I can show you. This one, see. I can't find it. This is not a very long book. Why can't I find this page? All right, anyway, he looks like a goat, but he can shoot rainbows out of his horn. So he's a real unicorn. Anyway. And then the fourth book that I finished in last week was Leap of Faith, Memoirs of an Unexpected Life by Queen Noor of Jordan. And she married the late King Hussein of Jordan. And it's a memoir of her time being married to him and being sort of the first lady of Jordan and what all that entailed. And I really, really appreciated this book. At the time, so in 1991, I spent the entire duration of the Gulf War in school as a student in London. And I was living in a student hostel. We had Jordanian students, we had Iraqi students, we had Kuwaiti students, we had students from all over the globe, but we were all sitting there watching in the common room, watching the declaration of war. And it was it was a really different time, and there was all sorts of strange stuff going on in London. And then the IRA started bombing soft targets, and it was a mess. And even then, I always felt like Jordan as a state was getting sort of a bad rap. They and it kind of interested me seeing this from her perspective and thinking, oh yeah, I actually did pick up quite a bit from the other students there and interacting with them. There was a guy who lived down the hall from me, his father was Palestinian, and so he had to travel on a Jordanian passport, even though he was not born in Jordan. But Jordan was one of the few countries that would issue passports to Palestinians. So being around him and other students, like the Kuwaiti students, and the Kuwaiti students and the Iraqi students, they were just like, we're just students. We don't, this is all political bullshit up here, and we don't, we're not being enemies with each other, because why would we? So it was just a really strange time. But I always felt that Jordan really got a sort of a bad rap. And now with the Palestinian-Israeli situation being not just not better, but so much worse than it was when this is a 20-year-old book. And and I haven't really talked about it much on my channel because it really hasn't come up, but it really bothers me that anyone who criticizes the state of Israel is considered, they get labeled anti-Semitic. I always get the vowels screwed up on that, but anti-Semitic. No, and this, she talked about the entire time of, her life in Jordan. And it's just, she talks about all of the conflict leading up to it, from the 40s on, and how, the Zionist movement and that is, and now this Israeli state is perpetrating genocide. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And it's, so yeah, I'm putting it out there. I haven't really made a statement before now, and I feel bad about that. But it was really interesting reading this book and getting more historical perspective, because my historical perspective really starts in 1991. So with that experience. Oh, okay. So Brian says Poison Ivy spends a lot of time in Gotham City like Batman. All right. So thank you. I'm glad I know people who know these things. But anyway, that was a really excellent book. I did rate it 4 stars, probably 4.5, rounded down to 4, because she does talk a lot about her faith and her late husband's faith and leadership with their faith in mind, which is all well and good, but that aspect of leadership does not really interest me that greatly. There's nothing wrong with her talking about it. It's just, those points I just kind of, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to that. It's like, it's nice that people actually live their faith to improve the lives of people around them. But it's just not something that interests me a great deal. Okay, so those are the 4 books that I listened or read. Mostly I listened to. Yeah, the Queen Nora's book. I did listen to that, and she narrated the intro, the introduction herself, but it was a different woman narrating the actual book. And I should mention that Rappaccini's daughter, I listened to the Sally Mays. Sally, does that say? Oh, I can't read it. But Sally Mays, I believe, was the name of the narrator on that. She did okay. It wasn't a great narration. I think it was, since it's public domain, anybody can do an audiobook on it. And I don't think it was one of the big production companies doing that. But she did fine. Except some of the Italian names, pronunciations on those were a little... Okay, let's see. Now, let's see, getting to Readathons, because February has a bunch of Readathons. And so one of them that I am doing is I'll be bouncing back and forth. I've got them listed here on the screen. But Folklore February is about folk tales and legends and tall tales. And I figure unicorns are, these are folk tales. And so one of the... I thought I got... There we go. So Sparkle the unicorn. They're mythical beings. So I figure this counts for the mirth prompt, because there is much happiness, there's dancing, there's laughter. It's a great time. So let's see. And then also in Folklore February, and this is for Strange Worlds Book Club, I am reading Volume 1 of Lore Olympus. And this is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and it is set in... I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a specific city or if it is just urban. The artwork is very... There are a lot of pastel... Well, not pastels. It's dark and it's pretty, and it's... I'm trying to find a page that kind of shows the variety. Well, here. Let's see if you can see that. But you can see that it's all that kind of color palette. And I'm not far enough in to know what I think of the story, and I'm not really big into the classics in general, but there is a content warning. Let's see what it says. Content warning from Rachel Smythe. Lore Olympus regularly deals with themes of physical and mental abuse, sexual trauma, and toxic relationships. Some of the interactions in this volume may be distressing for some readers. Please exercise discretion and seek out the support of others if you require it. So, wow. Right now, they're just at a party, and Hades has been dumped, and he's meeting Persephone. We'll see how this goes. But I will be reading this throughout the week. I gather from things I've seen, little comments I've seen from other book club people online, that they're not really enjoying it. So I don't know, but I will think of it. But that is for, I think I'll do that for the magic, because, you know, there's a lot of magic in Greek mythology. So I expect there to be a lot of magic in this book. So, and then hopping back to the Mardi Gras Readathon, I will be continuing with New Orleans Morning by Julie Smith, and this is a murder mystery set in New Orleans, and that will cover several of the prompts for that, and then down there. What else am I reading for that? So City of Light, which I was going to show you on my screen because I'm reading an ebook of that. That is a murder mystery set in Paris. So that fills the book set in France prompt. And I switched it from another murder mystery set in France because the colors on the cover are very much Mardi Gras colors. And so I thought that would be very appropriate for the Mardi Gras. So I'll have to just show you that cover next week. And let's see. Oh, Mask of the Red Death, that did count for read a book about a ball or an elegant event. At least it starts off elegant. And let's see. Oh, and read a book about cake or with cake in the title. And that I am going to read Black Cake. I actually started that. That was for a Folger Shakespeare Library book club, and I started it, but I didn't get very far into it. So I'll just start over on that one and listen to that. I have the audiobook for that. And I'm not real clear what it's about, but it has the word cake in the title. Something about a recipe that's been handed down for generations. And the other one is a book that centers around music. And I found one that is set on the Gulf Coast, which is another prompt, but, you know, New Orleans Morning also fits that one. And it is called Hurricane Song. And I hope it has a lot to do with music. One of the characters is really into jazz. So I hope it has enough music in it to fulfill that prompt. But if not, it'll fulfill the Gulf Coast, and I'll come up with something else for music. And then, so that's that. The Cat Lady Readathon. And I do have, and so Lainey is doing the Cat Lady Readathon, and I do have the descriptions in the description box below. I've got all of the links to, I think, all of these, except maybe not folklore. I don't think I've got a link to Folklore February. I can't remember who's doing it. Is Kat doing that one? I think Kat is doing that one. But anyway, everything else, at least, you should be able to find in the description below, and I'll update that. And if I don't have the Folklore February link in there already. But the Cat Lady Readathon And Lainey has little bingo boards. See, with all the little cat paw prints. And this is the one for books, reading 9 books. They don't all have to be cat books. There are 3 very cat-specific prompts: cat in the title, cat on the cover, and cat as a character. For cat in the title, I am planning to read The Cat Who Saved Books. And I do have audio? I think I've got an audio book through Hoopla for that. And then let's see. So I do already have 2 spaces filled out with the 2 books that I've read already in February, and that is A Unicorn Named Sparkle and The Perfect Valentine, for a book with illustrations. It has lots of illustrations. And then on the free space, I put Leap of Faith, because it didn't really fit anywhere else. Batman stories count as cat stories. Oh, yeah, let's see it. I guess I should show. Here's the one about poison ivy. And Batman stories count as cat stories. And I mean, and the Genreland theme this month is dragons. So I think dragon stories count as as cat stories. So and that was probably supposed to be mini Batman stories count as cat stories. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can see that. And I mean, Catwoman is in the Batman universe, right? Batman, Catwoman. Let's see, for but the other prompts on here are 4 or more words in the title. Yeah, that's what I thought. A translated book, and quick read, and dark cover. So most of those I'll probably pick out as I go. Some of those we'll probably see here in a minute or so. And then the other bingo board is activities, and watch a cat movie, take a nap, have a snack, meditate, free space, draw a cat, go for a walk, have tea or coffee, and stretch. So I thought that was really cute. So, and yeah, those aren't like crazy difficult or anything. So that's awesome. Sorry, my voice is starting to go. And then let's see. Okay, so Winter's Respite, pretty much everything counts for Winter's Respite. And I do have a link below for that. Filmtastic February is one I had never heard of until this year. And I think it might even actually be a brand new one this year. But Annie is doing that one. And I do have the link below. And go check that out. It's basically to read film-related books. And she has got a whole, in the description of that announcement video, she's got a list of things that count, types of books. I was looking, I'm hoping to still find my copy of And Don't Call Us Ladies. And that's by, I think, 2 Denver authors. I'm pretty sure they're both Colorado authors anyway. But, and it's about a filmmaking project. And so that one would count. And but other things that I'm looking at reading are, I've got several novelizations. Although Love Story, it's not really clear. It's a little bit like Argyle, I guess, in that there is a book and a movie that came out like right around the same time, and it's not really clear which one is based off of the other. I think there was actually a lot of back and forth with Love Story. But I also have Absence of Malice, and I'm not sure if that was just a book that got made into a movie or if it's a novelization. And Annie is at Obscure Book Adventures, so I'm trying to find obscure books. But I could also read Night Film, which I think would be a fun read. I've started it several times, and it's one of those where I just keep getting interrupted. It's like, okay, I need to just find a time that I can just sit down and focus on this book, because it's very immersive. And it's not one that can really stand interruptions. At least I can't when I'm reading it. So, but it's really interesting. And it features a fictional filmmaker and the disgraced journalist who is trying to take him down. But a lot of, I think, toxic masculinity on display, if I recall correctly. And then, let's see, Folklore February. So let's see, there was mirth and magic. So mystery, I'm planning to read A Master of Jinn, because Jinn are creatures of folklore. And I did not get it finished for the BYO book meeting last week, and I ended up taking it, and I think it's still downstairs. I ended up taking that book anyway because I decided to talk about an earlier book in that series, which is The Haunting of Tramcar 015, and I couldn't find my copy. That copy disappears. Anytime I'm looking for it, it just vanishes. And then a week later, it'll pop up, and I'm like, oh, that's where that was. Okay. But yeah, I have not finished A Master of Jinn yet. I'm really looking forward to reading that, and that one also counts. I'm doing this. I'm doing the 52 book club challenge, which is to read 52 books. It's got 52 prompts, and you read average a book a week. And they have sometimes, not every month, but some months they'll have a little mini challenge, which is usually 3 more prompts. And so one of them I've already completed. It's Be Mine Valentine, to read a Valentine's Day, a romance book or a Valentine themed book. So A Unicorn Named Sparkle and The Perfect Valentine easily counts for that. And then one of the other prompts is by a Black author in your favorite genre, and that's by P. Jolly Clark, who is a Black author. My favorite genre is steampunk. Mystery, and steampunk mystery specifically, and that's set in steampunk Cairo. So that should work for that. The third prompt for the mini challenge is by an author born in a leap year, and I just happened to just pick this one up because I needed a book in translation. Where did it go? Yeah. I needed a book in translation for the Cat Readathon, and it's a library binding. It's called The Woman in the Dunes. It's by what's the author's name? Abe. Kobo Abe, and translated from the Japanese by E. Dale Saunders. But I grabbed this and I looked him up, and guess what? He was born in a leap year, 1924, I believe. And so this is here. I'll show you this, and this is an illustrated copy of The Woman in the Dunes, and this is from 1964. So I was just kind of flipping through, looking at the illustrations. It's very 1964 vibes. So this is on deck for the Book Snobs next month, but I had to get this through Prospector at the library, so I may not be able to renew this, so I need to read this pretty quickly. And so that's, let's see, and then do I have other things? So I think that is it on my Readathon reading. So let's see, I've got a few other things to go through real quick for coming up in February. A couple that I've already mentioned a little bit. But yeah, so this is Good Girls Don't Die by Christina Henry. Talked about it a little bit, and I remember mentioning something about I'd read that there were some references to movies. And it's like, well, if you haven't watched the movie, you won't get much out of it. And so I did a little bit of checking. Now, so there are 3 separate storylines, and then there's a 4th section that like kind of ties them together, or well, not. Most of the reviews I've read really said the ending was not satisfying. But that the individual storylines were interesting. But anyway, the first one, I only got a few pages into it, and before I saw that thing, saying, well, you need to watch the movie first. And I was thinking at the time, just a few pages in, wow, this is really giving Don't Worry, Darling, which was a movie that came out, was it last year? Anyway, I did go to see the movie in the theater. I liked a lot of things about the movie, but the ending was not great. It had the same massive plot hole that another very famous big budget movie on a similar concept had, and I'm trying not to spoil it. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and read this first section, either until I get bored or until I get through it, and see if I might just set it aside and wait until I see, because I think the second one, I found a review that said it's kind of like Friday the 13th in style, or maybe Halloween, I'm not sure. And then the third one, I think, was Cabin in the Woods, or maybe that was the second one too. I don't know. But they were all the movies referenced for the second and third storylines were ones I have not seen. So we'll see what I think after I finish that first section, and if I want to continue, if I want to look up those movies and watch those, or if I feel like this is just going to be a retread of the movies, and what's the point? I don't know. We'll just see what I think. But I will try to finish that first section. And let's see what else I've got. City Under One Roof. I've started on this, and I've gotten a little further in, and I'm really enjoying like this idea that this remote location, this like city under one roof, this building of condos that's semi-abandoned, it is a place that you only wind up if you are running from someone or something, or hiding from your past or something. And so the idea is that everyone in this book has something to hide, and now there's a murder mystery. I did make a note that on page 8, I'm further than page 8 now, but I still don't know if I'm right. But on page 7, I was like, I wonder if Rakowski did it. Was it Rakowski? I think that was the name. And on page 8, I was like, yep. If I had to guess right now, I'd say he did it. So that's my guess. I have no idea if I'm right. I'm not that far along to be able to say, but but it'll be interesting to see if I'm right. But it's a really interesting. Yeah, this teenage girl was out with her friends in a cave near the glaciers, and they found a hand and a boot that apparently had a foot in it. And one investigator from Anchorage is saying, nah, it was probably a suicide from one of the cruise ships. But another investigator from Anchorage is like, maybe not. I should go check this out further. And then, so she goes to Daveco, which is this city under one roof, and she gets stuck, winter storm, because this is accessible only by a tunnel, and a winter storm closes the tunnel, and so she's stuck there. So, yeah, this will be interesting. This is, nice, isolated, closed circle mystery. Yay! And let's see. And I don't know if I'll get to it this week, but this is my pick for, this is Becky Chambers, To Be Taught If Fortunate. And this is a novella. And this is my pick for the High Tea Book Club this month. And so, if I don't get to it this week, I'll get to it next week. But it's a standalone science fiction novella, and it's from the author of the Wayfarer series. I've never read anything by Becky Chambers, but she keeps getting recommended to me. So I saw this on the library's sale rack, and I was like, oh, yay. So yeah, I finally get to try Becky Chambers. So that is pretty much where I am right now for last week and coming up on the next week. So what all are you reading? Yeah, you can just let me know in the comments below. And also, if you're watching this later, yeah, feel free to go ahead and comment too. And let me know what you're reading right now. And but let's see. I'm also hoping to get back to. Oh, do I have it up here? I do. Can I reach it? Is the question. And this is The Bone Witch. Yeah, I've been talking about this for a long time. But this is a Bacharach. So, and I have started it, and it's really interesting, but it's one of those that I keep getting interrupted. So I want to get back to it. But anyway, and also if you want to share any thoughts on any of the books that I've talked about, especially, like the ones that I'm a little confused by, like Girls Don't Die. If you've read that, please let me know your thoughts on that. If you think, ooh, A Curse of Krakens. Excuse me. That's Hearn? Is that Hearn? I know I have that, but I don't. Yeah, okay, that's Kevin Hearn. I'm not sure. Is he still a local author? I'm not sure. I know he used to live in Arizona, and then he did move to Colorado, Longmont. But now, didn't he say something about moving to Canada? Or was he? I don't know. A lot of people were kind of talking about moving to Canada in 2016, but I don't know. But at least for a while, he was a local author here in northern Colorado. He writes the Iron Druid series. I've read the first. I'm behind on reading Hearn. I've read the first 2 of the Iron Druid series, and really I really enjoyed those. Those are a lot of fun. So yeah, I think we've got all of them. So need to finish up those. And let's see. But yeah, or I'm curious to know because a city under one roof, until it was recommended to me, I'd never heard of it. So if anyone else out there has read it, I'd love to hear what you think of it. Um, but yeah, my voice is starting to go, so I should probably just wrap it up. And but thank you for hanging out with me. And yeah, and I'm really sorry that I couldn't share my screen, and I'll get that figured out by next week. And, if I have to go back to Chrome instead of Firefox, I guess we'll do that. But the lag has been better. So thank you, Brian. Um, and but yeah, I'll be able to share my screen one way or another next week. But yeah, I hope you had a good time. And, like and subscribe if you want to watch more of these and hang out with me. And as I babble about books, and I'll just talk at you later.